All right, so we're going to take a deep dive into, well, a bit of a weird one this time. These drone things popping up all over the U.S. I mean, you saw it too, right? All over the news.
Yeah. Can't miss it. Seems like every day there's a new headline about it.
That's what I'm saying. And then you sent me this article.
From the Greek news site.
Yeah, I mean, why Greece? What's the connection? And it's not just about the drones themselves. It's about...
Leroy Chow. Right.
Exactly. Former astronaut, commander of the ISS, the whole 9 yards. And he says he had this crazy run-in with, well, something while he was flying his plane.
Pretty wild, huh? I mean, when an astronaut says something's weird, you got to listen.
For sure. So that's what we're going to unpack today. First off, let's just recap what everyone's talking about with these drone sightings.
Okay, so we've got these drones appearing everywhere, right?
Yeah, all over the U.S., like you said.
And it's not just like, some kid flying a toy around.
No, these are causing major disruptions.
Airports shutting down, flights canceled, the whole bit.
And no one seems to know where they're coming from or who's controlling them.
Exactly. That's the creepy part. Like, what's the point of all this?
Right. So what makes these drones so different?
Well, from what I've gathered, they're not your run-of-the-mill drones. I mean, think about it. We've got reports of them flying in formations.
These formations, like a flock of birds.
Yeah, kind of. And they're pulling off maneuvers that your average drone just can't handle.
Huh. So it's not just some guy with a fancy remote control.
Nope. And here's the kicker. Some of them are disappearing from radar.
Like completely vanishing.
Gone. Poof. That's what makes it spooky, right?
Totally. And this whole thing is starting to sound like, I don't know, sci-fi movie or something.
Yeah. You'd think it was fiction, but it's happening.
And that's the thing. This is real, and it's happening now. So let's bring Leroy Chow into the picture. He was flying to Houston back in August, and he sees these...
2 metallic spheres, that's how he described them.
Yeah, just zipped right past his plane. He said they were moving super fast. Like, he actually thought he was going to crash.
I bet a near miss like that would shake anyone up, especially a pilot.
And especially an astronaut. The guy's flown in space.
Right, exactly. And Chow, he even said if this wasn't some kind of secret military thing, then it's, quote, a bit more scary.
Whoa! So even he's kind of freaked out. But here's another piece of the puzzle. These things didn't show up on radar.
Nope. Totally invisible to air traffic control.
So they just appeared out of nowhere.
Basically, yeah. Vanished just as quick.
Okay, so we've got unexplained drones causing chaos. And a former astronaut who's been to space has a near miss with something that just disappears. I mean, it all feels connected, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're missing pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out what the picture is supposed to be.
Okay, so where do we go from here? What do we do with all this?
Well, that's what this deep dive is all about, right? You got to dig deeper, look at all the angles.
Look for more clues.
Yeah, and even if you don't have all the answers by the end,
at least we'll have a better idea of what we're dealing with.
It's exactly. Got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely. So Chow has this close encounter, right? And he's obviously shaken.
Of course. I mean, can you imagine seeing something like that?
Up in the air, no warning, just boom, there it is.
It makes you think about, the psychological impact on pilots.
Like, they're trained to deal with all sorts of emergencies, but what do you do when you encounter something completely unexplainable?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, there's no protocol for that.
And it has to affect how they fly, right? Always looking over their shoulder.
For sure. I mean, I know I would be, it's a safety issue too.
Totally. So this is all about getting more information, trying to figure out what we're up against.
Transparency is key here. We can't solve a problem if we don't even know what the problem is.
Okay, so we've got these bizarre drones, an astronaut story, and the article you sent also mentioned other sightings.
Well, yeah, and not just in the U.S.
Europe, too, right.
Uh-huh. But the article didn't give specifics about those, which is...
annoying.
Yeah, a bit, but also kind of telling, don't you think?
How so?
Well, if these things are popping up all over the world, it makes you wonder, right? Is this a coordinated effort?
Like, is someone or something orchestrating all of this?
It's a big question mark, and we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, so we've got strange drones, a seasoned astronaut's account, and this global pattern of sightings. It makes you wonder, are we really alone out there?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? The million-dollar question. But before we go down the alien rabbit hole...
we should consider some other possibilities, right?
Exactly. I mean, let's not rule out more... down-to-earth explanations just yet.
Like what? What are you thinking?
Well, what if these drones are part of some super advanced, top-secret government project?
It's possible. I mean, governments have been known to do that kind of stuff.
Right, and with all the advancements in technology lately, It wouldn't be surprising if someone was testing out some next-level drones.
But then why all the secrecy? Why cause all this disruption? Doesn't that defeat the purpose?
That's the thing. It's weird, isn't it? Almost like I don't know, a show of force.
A show of force. Like, to who? Other countries.
Maybe. Or maybe even to their own citizens, like a look what we can do kind of thing.
It's creepy, the thought that someone could be watching us with technology we can't even detect.
It's a bit unsettling, for sure. But we got to consider all the angles.
Okay, so even if it is some government program, we're still left with a lot of unanswered questions.
Oh, yeah, tons of them. Like, what are their capabilities? What are they doing? Who's controlling them?
And how do we even begin to get those answers?
Well, first off, we got to admit that we don't know everything. We're dealing with something that's pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
So we need to think outside the box, right? Be open to new ideas, even if they sound crazy.
Absolutely. And we have to approach this with a healthy dose of skepticism, but also a sense of wonder, you know?
Because the truth, whatever it is probably weirder than anything we can imagine.
Exactly. It's a journey into the unknown, and we got to be ready for anything.
All right, so we've laid out the puzzle pieces. The drones, Leroy Chow, the global sightings, and maybe even some advanced tech. But how do we start putting it all together? Where do we even begin?
I think step one is to admit what we don't know. We're dealing with something that's breaking the rules of technology, aviation, maybe even reality itself.
Okay, so we need to question everything, be open to all possibilities, even the ones that seem far-fetched.
Yep, and we got to do this with a critical eye, but also with a sense of awe, like you said.
Because who knows what we might find?
That's the exciting part, right?
Yeah.
This is a whole new world we're stepping into.
It's a bit intimidating, but also incredibly exciting.
It's an adventure, a quest for the truth, and we're all in this together.
Well said, so buckle up, listeners, because things are about to get weird.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second and look at the bigger picture, the historical context of these kinds of sightings. Because believe it or not, people have been reporting weird stuff in the sky for, like, centuries.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously, I thought this was a modern thing.
Nope, not at all. We've got accounts going way back from all sorts of sources.
Like, what are we talking about here? Cave drawings of spaceships?
Ha. Not quite, although some people do interpret ancient art that way. But no, I'm talking about written accounts from people who saw things they couldn't explain.
Okay, that's interesting. So, like, what kind of accounts?
Well, there was this whole thing in the late 1800s in the U.S. with these airships.
Airships, like blimps.
Yeah, but these were described as, like, cigar-shaped objects flying over cities.
Sounds familiar.
Right. And some people even claim they saw pilots or, like, occupants inside.
Kind of like those UFO stories you hear today?
Exactly. And it wasn't just, tabloid stuff back then. Even reputable newspapers like the New York Times were covering these sightings.
Wow, so it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Even Thomas Edison, the inventor, he chimed in on it.
Really? What'd he say?
Well, he was pretty skeptical, thought it was all just hoaxes or misidentifications. But still, the fact that it was such a widespread phenomenon, it's pretty interesting.
Totally. So no one ever figured out what those airships were?
Nope. No hard evidence ever surfaced. Just a bunch of eyewitness accounts.
Another mystery for the books.
Right. And then, of course, we fast forward to the mid-20th century, and that's when the whole UFO craze really takes off.
Roswell, Area 51, all that.
Yep. The post-World War II era was a breeding ground for UFO sightings.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you had all this anxiety about the Cold War, the threat of nuclear annihilation. And at the same time, technology was advancing at an incredible pace. So people were primed to see, anything unusual in the sky as potentially extraterrestrial.
And then you throw in rumors of government cover-ups, and it's a recipe for, well...
mass hysteria.
Pretty much. And that fascination with UFOs, it's never really gone away, has it?
Nope. It's still going strong, even today.
It seems like every few years there's a new wave of sightings, a new conspiracy theory.
It's a topic that just captures the imagination, makes you wonder what's really out there.
But here's the thing. In recent years, it feels like the conversation about UFOs has changed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's becoming more, more mainstream.
What do you mean?
We're seeing more serious investigations by governments, by scientists. People are starting to take these sightings more seriously, not just dismissing them as nonsense.
And we have better technology now, right? To actually capture these things on video, on camera.
Exactly. And that's making it harder to sweep these sightings under the rug, so to speak.
Okay, so if governments are starting to take this seriously, what are they doing about it?
Well, there have been some interesting developments. Back in 2020, the Pentagon, the U.S. Department of Defense, they actually released 3 videos captured by Navy pilots showing these unidentified objects.
Seriously, what did the videos show?
Well, these objects were doing things that, things that our current technology just can't do.
Like what?
Moving at incredible speeds, changing direction instantly, disappearing and reappearing.
Wow, and the Pentagon admitted they couldn't explain it.
Yep, they basically said, we don't know what this is. It was a pretty big deal.
So does that mean they're finally coming clean about aliens?
I wouldn't go that far. Governments are still pretty secretive, especially about this stuff. But it does show that the pressure is mounting. People want answers, and they're not going to just shut up and go away.
It feels like we're at a turning point, like something big is about to happen.
Maybe, maybe not. But it's definitely an exciting time to be following this.
So let's talk about theories for a minute. We've talked about government technology, but what are some of the other explanations out there?
Oh, man, where do we even begin? There's a whole buffet of theories to choose from.
Give me the highlights.
All right, well, you've got the classic alien hypothesis, right? Extraterrestrials visiting Earth.
The good old ETs.
Exactly. Then there's the interdimensional theory, the idea that these objects are somehow crossing over from other dimensions.
Okay, that one's a bit out there.
Yeah, it gets pretty wild. You've also got time travel theories, ancient civilizations with advanced tech. It's a whole rabbit hole of possibilities.
I gotta admit, some of these theories are pretty far-fetched.
I hear you. But here's the thing. We're dealing with something we don't fully understand. So we can't just dismiss anything out of hand.
Yeah.
Got to keep an open mind.
Okay, fair enough. But if we're talking about aliens or interdimensional beings, where's the proof? Where's the smoking gun?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that's been debated for decades. The truth is, we don't have that definitive, undeniable evidence, at least not publicly.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right?
Right. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. It just means we haven't found it yet.
Or maybe we're not looking in the right places, or maybe we wouldn't even recognize it if we saw it.
Exactly. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but we don't even know what the needle looks like.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say, hypothetically, that some of these sightings are actually aliens.
Okay, I'm game. Let's go there.
What would that mean for us, for humanity?
Well, it would be a pretty huge deal, to say the least. It would completely change our understanding of, well, everything.
Like, what? Be specific.
Our place in the universe, the origin of life, the nature of reality itself.
It would be humbling knowing that we're not alone in this vast cosmos.
Definitely, and it would open up so many questions like, why are they here? What do they want?
Are they friendly? Are they hostile?
All valid questions, and ones that we might have to face sooner than we think.
It's kind of scary, but also really exciting, the thought of encountering another intelligent species.
It would be a defining moment in human history, no doubt about it.
But it would also come with a lot of challenges, a lot of unknowns.
For sure, but that's the nature of exploration, isn't it? Pushing the boundaries, facing the unknown.
So what's the takeaway here? What have we learned so far?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that we're living in a truly extraordinary time. The things we thought we knew about technology, about the universe, about our own place in it, it's all being challenged, and the truth might be stranger than fiction.
And as we continue to explore these mysteries, we need to do it with a sense of
What's the word?
wonder.
Yeah, wonder, and a healthy dose of skepticism. We can't just believe everything we hear.
We need to think critically, evaluate the evidence, and be open to new possibilities.
Exactly. This is a journey of discovery, and we're all on it together.
Okay, so we've talked about the drones, the sightings, even delved into some of the theories out there. But there's this whole other side to this that we can't ignore.
Yeah, the conspiracy stuff.
Exactly, the whole idea that the government knows more than they're letting on.
Oh, yeah, that's been a constant hum in the background of this whole UFO thing for years, right?
And it makes sense, right? I mean, governments have secrets, especially when it comes to national security and all that.
Yeah. Right, and especially with something as potentially world-changing as, aliens.
Exactly, but where's the line between keeping things quiet for the good of the country and just straight up lying to people?
That's the tough part, isn't it? It's like, how much do we trust what we're being told?
Especially when there are all these stories, these rumors about cover-ups and secret projects.
Roswell, Area 51, the whole shebang.
So are these just stories, or is there something more to them?
Well, that's where it gets tricky, right? There's a lot of smoke, but is there actually a fire?
Like Roswell, for example, crashed weather balloon or alien spacecraft.
The official story's pretty clear. but a lot of people just don't buy it. And then you have Area 51, this super secret base in the middle of the desert. It's like a magnet for conspiracy theories.
And the stories about whistleblowers, people claiming to have worked on top secret projects, seen alien tech, even met extraterrestrials.
It's wild stuff, but it's hard to know what to believe.
How do you even sift through all of that and figure out what's real and what's not?
That's the challenge, right? You have these whistleblowers risking everything to come forward. But their stories are often so out there that it's hard to take them seriously.
It's like they need proof to be believed, but they can't provide proof without getting in trouble.
A real catch-22, so we're left with this cloud of uncertainty.
Do we trust the official story, even if it feels incomplete? Or do we listen to the whistleblowers, even if they sound crazy?
It's a judgment call, I guess. You got to weigh the evidence, consider the motives, and try to make sense of it all.
But even if we give the government the benefit of the doubt, don't we have a right to know what's going on?
Especially if it's something that could affect the whole world, right?
That's the whole point of the disclosure movement, isn't it? Getting the government to release everything they know.
Yeah, the idea is that the public has a right to know no matter what.
But then there's the counter-argument that revealing this stuff could cause panic, destabilize things, even provoke some kind of alien response.
It's a tough one. There are valid points on both sides. It's about finding that balance between secrecy and transparency.
Okay, so where does that leave us? What do we do with all this uncertainty?
Honestly, I think the best we can do is stay open-minded, but also be critical. Don't just accept everything at face value. Ask questions, demand evidence.
And remember that this isn't just some abstract debate. This stuff has real-world implications.
Yeah, if these things are real, whether it's advanced tech or aliens or something else entirely, it's going to change everything. Our science, our religion, our whole understanding of the universe.
It's a lot to process,
Yeah.
and it's only going to get more complex as we learn more.
We need to be prepared as individuals and as a society to deal with whatever comes next.
So we've come full circle, back to the drones, the sightings, the mystery of it all.
What have we learned? I think the biggest takeaway is that we're living in a time of incredible change.
The things we thought were impossible are becoming possible, and the truth is out there somewhere.
It's an exciting time, a scary time, but definitely a time that will be remembered.
And as we continue to explore, to learn, to uncover the truth,
Let's do it with a sense of wonder, with a thirst for knowledge, and with a healthy dose of skepticism.
well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a wild ride.
Anytime, and to everyone listening, keep those eyes on the sky. You never know what you might see.
And remember, stay curious.